I've got a very interesting and different video for you today. We're gonna play some dark, clean metal riffs, arpeggiated, and these are all gonna be riffs that you can play in the key of E minor. Now we're going to jump right into this lesson and we're going to have fun with this because I'm also going to show you how to create your own clean metal riffs based on what you're about to learn. So we're going to dig right in, but just real quick, the reason why I'm sharing these riffs with you is because as metal guitar players, I'd say 95% of the time, maybe 99% of the time, we're playing with distortion. We're playing our typical metal stuff. And that's great, that's awesome, but learning these clean metal riffs that I'm about to share with you in the key of E minor, it's really just going to help expand your guitar playing. And when I say expand your guitar playing, it doesn't necessarily mean you're learning something that's more complicated. It's that you're playing a slightly different style than what you're used to playing. It just expands yourself as a musician. Oh, and make sure you hang around to the end of the video for some tone talk. A couple of notes before we get started. Well, we're gonna play more than a couple of notes, but seriously. So before we get started here, I am in standard tuning, and most of you know I'm always in standard tuning. Secondly, we're only gonna be utilizing the first 4 strings of your guitar throughout all of these little clean metal riffs that I'm about to share with you. So let's start out with the E minor riff, and this might sound familiar to you. So there's about 3 or more Metallica songs right there that you can play with those notes. And what we're doing here is that first string we're playing open, then it's going to be, the frets are going to be 2, 4, and open. Now I'm not actually going to play the Metallica songs because I don't think YouTube likes when you play cover songs, and I don't really care to play covers anyway. I want you to do something different, okay? So play this pattern instead. What I'm doing here is I'm just arpeggiating all 4 strings, but that 4th string, that G string, that last open string, I'm letting that kind of ring out a little bit before I go to my next note. So this kind of gives it a little bit of flavor and just a different cadence. And then I'm gonna pick strings 3, 2, 3. Okay, and I'm not changing the finger position at all. We're keeping our fingers in the same spot. So I'll play this slowly for you. Again, you're just going down all 4 strings, letting that last one ring out just a little bit before you start playing that next note, and it's going to be the 3rd string, 2nd, then 3rd. And then you just repeat that pattern again. Now, you don't have to play that exact pattern because you're probably going to mess around with this little riff right here, and you can pick different strings and try different methods, try a different cadence if you want, and you can come up with all kinds of really cool clean riffs on your own just with what I showed you there. Now, while we're on E minor, there's another little clean riff that you can play for the E minor chord here, and it's going to be very similar to what we just played, but it's going to sound like this instead. So before we played open, 2, 4, open. This time we're playing open, 7, 4, open. Okay, that's how we get that sound. And you can try the same little riff that we did earlier, just that same picking variation here. Now let's play a C metal riff, okay? A C clean metal riff here. And for these little patterns that we're about to play, we're only going to be playing the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string, okay? So you can start out just by playing a normal C, just those first 3 notes in a C chord, which are but that's kind of boring. So I want you to change up the picking of that just a little bit here. So instead of doing that, I want you to try this. A little bit cooler, gives you a little bit more punch and feeling in there. And all I'm doing is just picking back and forth on those first two notes there, which is the second and third strings. So I'm going on the A string, then the D string, then back to the A string, then I'm going to the G string. So it's kind of back and forth. Now, if you want to add a little bit more to that, I like to hear those notes ring out sometimes, especially that G string, that open G string ringing out with those other lower notes. You know, after you hit those other lower notes, just sounds really cool to me. It's kind of like a constant that you can keep throughout these riffs, which we're going to get to that in a second here, put it all together. If you want to just make it just a little bit more, not complex, but just add some more notes to it, you can do this instead. And you don't even have to play exactly what I just played. You can make up your own patterns there, and that's really what I want to encourage you to do. You know, my job here is just to kind of show you some different ways to play these clean metal riffs. Now, moving on, I want to show you an even cooler C metal riff here. So we're just going to change one note to this, all right? Instead of frets 2, 3 open, we're going to play frets 2, 4 open. So it's going to sound like this, and this is going to sound pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty wicked sounding. It's very dark. All we're doing again is, and I'm just using that same picking pattern. I'm starting out, you know, on that first note, going the first note, second note, back to first, then the third. Then I like to hit those other two notes again. Again, you can play whatever pattern you want. You can learn what I just, you know, shared with you, or play something else, make up something else. Now, the next typical chord that you would go to in like this type of progression with an E minor and a C would be a D. So let's play a D clean metal riff here. The cool thing about this, what I'm about to show you, is you could go back to the normal C, like just those first 3 notes in a C chord for this riff. Okay, and just move it up a whole step. So your frets are going to be 5, 4, and open. Better stop playing that before YouTube flags me for Def Leppard, but that is one of my personal favorite ways, favorite little riffs to play for a D. If your progression is going to a D, that's one of my favorite clean riffs to play. It just sounds so cool. And I love that song and that album, by the way. Now, if you wanted to make things a little bit more interesting, play frets, same strings here, play frets 5, 2, and open. That's not so dark sounding. It's kind of more of a happy vibe, but it's just another way, another little clean riff that you could throw in a metal song, or really any song, from time to time. Now let's take what we've learned up to this point and let's throw this into a little progression here. So I'm going to play something kind of cool sounding, and then I'll share exactly what we're doing here. So we started out with the second E minor, the second E minor clean riff, the arpeggiated riff there. Remember that one? And again, that was open, 7, 4 open. Then we go to just the normal C, that normal C arpeggiated riff. Okay, we just do that one time, and then we just slide up to the D. Now we're going to go back to the C, but this time we're going to play that really wicked sounding little C riff that we learned. We're not quite done yet because there's one more thing I want to show you here. So when you're playing an E minor progression, when you're playing in that key, a lot of times there's a really cool opportunity to do like a walk up to a G. So I want to show you a really cool way to do that. Some really cool clean metal arpeggiated riffs here. So go back to that first Metallica-ish riff that we played in the beginning. Now, what I want you to do is just take that first finger and place it on the first string, 2nd fret. That's your F sharp, well, technically F sharp minor, but that's your next note, F sharp, for the walk up. Now, you can keep your pinky finger down here, right? Just keep that constant throughout this little riff here. And I want you to place your fingers in the configuration as if you were playing a G chord. So it's going to sound like this. Now, let's put all that together, and I want you to try this, okay? Let's just put all 3 of those riffs together. Now, that would be like a really cool pre-chorus, like you're doing the verse and then you have this pre-chorus that goes right into this monstrous chorus, or it could be an intro, outro, whatever you want. It could be anything, but I want you to play around with that. And also remember, play around with what strings that you're arpeggiating. Try different patterns as you're creating your own clean metal riffs here. And you can expand that out. Like you can throw in those other, the C and D clean metal riffs that we learned earlier, and then maybe change up the picking pattern even more. Something like this. So what you guys were hearing was my EVH 5153 EL34 tube amp. That's what you're hearing. Now, you weren't hearing that mic'd up. Normally I mic this amp and I'll record the tracks in my studio, and then I'll sync the audio and video together after the fact in the editing process. Yeah, I spend a lot of time editing my videos for you guys, by the way. This time I didn't. I just used my iPhone, not even my iPhone's mic. I'm using this little lavalier mic here. I don't even know what brand it is. I'm about to upgrade this soon, by the way. But I was in such close proximity, in playing clean, you're not really hearing the pick noise. The camera's not really picking that up. So hopefully it sounded okay for you guys. But anyway, so I'm using my EVH 5153 amp. I love this amp. This is not a sponsored video, but hey, if EVH ever wants to sponsor me, I'll promote the crap out of your stuff because I love this amp. Anyway, so real quick, my settings on here, my EQ settings on my clean channel, really on all my stuff, is just stupid simple. I have to keep things really simple. That's just the way my mind works. If things start getting too complicated, then I'll overcomplicate them even more, and it's just a disaster. So I need to keep things really stupid simple. Anyway, my EQ for this channel, the green clean channel, is my bass is pretty much straight up and down, and my mids, I just shave them off a little bit. My treble's between about 6 and 7 on here, and my presence for this amp at all times is cut a little bit to about 4. That's just what I prefer for this particular amp. So those settings will change if I'm recording something, like if I'm recording clean tones for the full mix. which I'm actually getting ready to do for the album that I'm working on, you know, they'll change a little bit to cater to the mix, obviously. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, the pedals. I was using 2 effects pedals, and I love these 2 pedals together when I'm playing clean tones. And that's the MXR Analog Chorus. It gives me that nice creamy sound. I love it. And then I've got a little bit of delay on here from my Boss DD7 digital delay pedal. Those 2 pedals together for me just works like magic. Now, of course, it probably sounded a lot better in the room here if you guys were hanging out with me in the room, which it always feels like we're hanging out anyway when we're having these videos. But I don't know how well that picked up on the camera. Hopefully it picked up okay. So guys, let me know if you like these little tone talks. I know the video is a lesson, and that's what's in the title, and that's what you expect. But again, let me know if you enjoy, if you've made it this far into the video. Thank you, by the way, because when you watch the whole video, that really helps my channel, and I appreciate that. But let me know if you like the tone talk at the end of the lessons here. I mean, sometimes that tone talk is going to be repetitive because oftentimes I use the same thing, but you know, sometimes there might be little variations I'll throw in there, and it's just cool to talk about gear and what we're using. And let me know if you have any questions at all about the dark, clean metal riffs that we played today. Again, I hope you will go back to this video and rewatch some of that and just, you know, integrate your own touches to that. You know, play around with some of those riffs, do some different picking patterns, that sort of thing, and just make up your own little riffs there with what you learned today. Oh, and don't forget, I still have my free guitar guide, my free practice guide. That's always in the description of my videos. And there's also links to my music and some other things down there. So check that out. That's in the YouTube description. Guys, please give this a thumbs up. And until the next video, as always, keep it metal. Well, in this case, keep it clean.